Mr. Ikechukwu received a phone call from his sister, Ogechukwu, on the evening of Valentine's Day 2026. The sister had called to inform him that his apprentice, Chiemerie, had not yet returned home from the shop. Mr. Ikechukwu gave a clear instruction, which was to lock Chiemerie out and not let him into the house when he returned. What neither of them knew was that this decision would trigger a deadly attack that would leave one person dead and the other person lying on a hospital bed fighting for life. Ikechukwu, also known as Turn by Turn, was a businessman who operated at the popular Obogu medicine market in Onitsha, Anambra State. He lived with his family in the same Onitsha, and like many successful Igbo traders, Ikechukwu had taken in an apprentice to train in his business according to the traditional Igbo apprenticeship system known as Igba Boy. His apprentice was 21-year-old Chiemerie Anyeke, an indigene of Ebonyi State, the same state where Ikechukwu came from. Chiemerie had come to Onitsha in 2023 to learn the trade. For a while, the relationship between the master and the apprentice seemed cordial. Chiemerie worked in Ikechukwu's shop at the drug market and lived with his master's family at home. However, things began to change later. Chiemerie had started misbehaving. According to reports, he had been stealing money from the shop, taking drugs, and staying out late at night. His master had scolded him several times about these bad behaviors, but the problems continued. On that Saturday evening of February 14, Chiemerie had not returned home at the usual time. His master's sister, Ogechukwu, who also worked as the shop manager, became concerned when she realized he had not come home. She picked up her phone and called her elder brother, Ikechukwu, to inform him about Chiemerie's absence. Ikechukwu was clearly fed up with his apprentice's behavior. When he heard that Chiemerie had not returned home, he gave his sister strict instructions. She should not allow Chiemerie into the house. When he eventually returned, she should lock him out and tell him to go back to wherever he was coming from. Ogechukwu agreed to follow her brother's instructions, but what happened next would change everything. When Chiemerie finally returned to the house, he found the gates locked. Following her brother's instructions, Ogechukwu did not open the gate for him. Chiemerie waited outside, unable to gain entry to the compound. However, Ikechukwu's wife was at home and was not aware of the instructions her husband had given to his sister. When she reportedly heard someone at the gate, she came out and saw Chiemerie waiting outside. Unaware that he was supposed to be locked out, she opened the gate and let him into the compound. Once inside, Chiemerie did not go to his own room. Instead, he went to the kitchen and hid there. He positioned himself behind the kitchen door and waited patiently for his master to return home. Around 3 a.m. in the early morning of Sunday, February 15, Ikechukwu finally returned home. He had made it a habit to enter the house through the kitchen. When he stepped foot inside, Chiemerie rushed out from his hiding place with a pestle in his hand and struck him at the back of his head 3 times. Ikechukwu fell to the ground and lost consciousness. Chiemerie then rushed into the room where Ogechukwu was sleeping. She was fast asleep and completely unaware of what had just happened to her brother in the kitchen. Chiemerie hit Ogechukwu on the head while she slept, and the sudden pain woke her up in shock and confusion. As he attempted to strike her again, survival instinct kicked in. Ogechukwu grabbed his hand, struggling desperately to take the pestle away from him. She managed to disarm him, taking the deadly weapon from his hands. She immediately ran outside, screaming for help and raising the alarm. Her screams woke the neighbors, who then rushed out of their houses to see what was happening. When they arrived, they found Ogechukwu bleeding from her head and Chiemerie just standing there. The neighbors quickly surrounded Chiemerie and restrained him. They rounded him up and made sure that he could not escape or attack anyone else. It was only then that people discovered what had happened in the kitchen. Ikechukwu was found lying unconscious on the kitchen floor, bleeding from the severe head injury that Chiemerie had inflicted on him. The neighbors immediately called for help, and both Ikechukwu and Ogechukwu were taken to the hospital for emergency treatment. Tragically, Ikechukwu was confirmed dead at the hospital and his body was taken to the mortuary. Ogechukwu, on the other hand, survived the attack and was kept in the hospital for treatment of her injuries. Chiemerie was immediately arrested by the police. The pestle he had used to attack his victims was recovered from the scene as evidence. The case was transferred to the State Criminal Investigation Department in Awka. When Chiemerie was interrogated at the State Criminal Investigation Department, he confessed to killing his master with the pestle and also attacking Ogechukwu with the same weapon. However, he denied many of the other allegations against him, including drug addiction and returning home late on that fateful day. According to his account, his relationship with his master had been friendly until recently when he started maltreating him. He remembered one particular day when he came back from church activity and his boss pounced on him, demanding to know where he had been. When Chiemerie reported this treatment to his elder brother, who had connected him with Ikechukwu, his brother advised him to patiently endure and see the maltreatment as part of the apprenticeship experience. Chiemerie then revealed something that would become vital to understanding his motive for the murder. In the July of the previous year, he had met a friend named Nabife at the Bogu market. He requested Nabife's assistance to open a bank account for him so he could start saving money secretly. Nabife agreed and opened the account for him. Chiemerie had been saving money in this secret account, monitoring it through POS transactions until the balance grew to an impressive 5 million naira. By the time he accumulated this amount, he was already planning to quit his apprenticeship and use the money to establish his own business. However, when he asked Nabife to help him withdraw the money, he received a shocking disappointment. Nabife withdrew the money, but handed over only 3 million naira to Chiemerie. When Chiemerie complained about the missing 2 million naira, Nabife threatened to collect the entire amount. He insisted that keeping the 2 million was his gain for helping Chiemerie open and monitor the account. This made Chiemerie very angry because he had already made plans for how to use the full 5 million naira. But there was another problem that drove Chiemerie to commit murder. According to his confession, he had been hearing rumors that his master Ikechukwu had learned about his secret savings of 5 million naira. The rumor was that Ikechukwu was planning to seize the entire amount from him and punish him severely. In Ikechukwu's view, it made no sense for an apprentice to accumulate such a huge amount of money unless he had been stealing from the shop. An apprentice typically does not have the resources to save millions of naira. Therefore, if Chiemerie had managed to save 5 million naira, it could only mean that he had been stealing from the business all along, just as Ikechukwu had been accusing him. Chiemerie claimed that since he was already fed up with his apprenticeship and had decided to quit so that he could use his savings to start his own business, he felt he had no option but to kill his master. He believed that if he did not act first, Ikechukwu would seize all his money and he would lose everything he had worked for. Chiemerie also mentioned another grievance. He had begged Ikechukwu several times to buy him a mobile phone, noting that he was the only person in the entire compound without a phone. But Ikechukwu had refused to buy him one. Regarding the events of that Saturday night, Chiemerie insisted he had not come home late. He said he came back from the market around 7:30 p.m. and he was not feeling well. He claimed his head was aching, so he had visited a chemist shop to buy drugs. He said he had even taken permission from Ogechukwu before going out, but by the time he returned, she had already called Ikechukwu to tell him that he was not at home, and Ikechukwu had instructed that they should not let him into the house. When asked what made him commit such a violent act, Chiemerie denied that it was caused by drugs or alcohol. He admitted he used to take tramadol tablets, but when his master discovered this, he warned him to stop, and Chiemerie claimed he had obeyed. He blamed his actions on the devil, saying he could not explain what came over him that day. He believed it was the devil's manipulation. What was most disturbing about Chiemerie's attitude was his complete lack of remorse. When asked how he felt after killing his master, the young man showed no signs of regret. He said he was prepared to face the consequences of his actions. He said that it was pointless to ask for forgiveness because he knew he would not be forgiven anyway. Chiemerie said he was ready to face whatever punishment came his way, whether death by hanging or death by shooting. He was ready to die and face judgment. This cold, emotionless response shocked everyone who heard it. The case remains under investigation at the State CID in Awka. Chiemerie is currently in police custody, and authorities have also arrested Nabife, the friend who helped him open the secret bank account and allegedly kept 2 million naira for himself. What do you think about this case? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more true crime stories.